Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I turned a pair of thrifted jeans that I never wore because it never quite fit right into this denim skirt that I have been wearing on repeat since I finished making it. Now the construction of the skirt is pretty straightforward. I undid the inseam of the pants and then created a front panel and a back panel by sewing together the left front leg and the right front leg, and the same thing on the back. So no mystery there. But what I wanted to share today was just a couple things that I learned in doing this, and specifically things that I would change if I were to make another skirt like this out of a pair of jeans. So first up is the front fly area. So I'll put a picture up, but the front fly area has a little bump on it here at the point where the fly connects to the newly created center front seam. And the reason for that is the fly area of the jeans, which I didn't touch, I kept it as it was, has a bit of a curve to it. So perhaps you can't see it right now as I'm holding this up, but from the waistline, the fly goes up and curves a bit. And from the bottom of the fly, I just sewed straight down to the top of the slit. And what that did is that meant that the new center front line, seam line that I created was like this, and the fly is meeting it at a bit of an angle. And so it's created a little bit of a point there at the junction between those two seams. And I don't love how that looks. I hope it's not readily visible to people who see me wearing the skirt, but I know it's there and I notice it. And so I think if I were to do this project over again, I would pay closer attention to the established curve of the fly area and make sure that the seam that I'm creating flows more naturally and smoothly from that line. The other thing that I plan on fixing actually on this skirt before I wear it again is the junction area at the slit, both in the front and the back. I notice receives a lot of tension when wearing the skirt because that's where the two panels come together, and as you're walking, it's always kind of being pulled apart here. Now it's held up fine with all of the wearing that I've done so far, but I want to add an extra line of stitching across the top, just at the point where the slit begins, to provide extra reinforcement of that area. So I'll do that on the front and the back. And last but not least, on the back, when I was creating this skirt, I tried to take a shortcut, which never really ends up being shorter. And that was to seam rip only about halfway up the butt before creating the center back seam. So this first 5 to 10 centimeters here below the waistline is the production stitching, and then my stitching begins only about here, halfway down the butt area. And as I said, I thought that this would just be easier or quicker, not going all the way up to the waistline. And I think that that was a mistake because it created just the slightest of warping here as we go from the production stitching into my stitching. Now, I don't know if it's something that anybody else would notice, but I notice it, and I just think it would have been a cleaner finish to just go all the way up to the waistline and do the seam completely anew myself, rather than trying to cut a small corner and really not saving any time and coming out with a slightly less quality result. So that's the other thing that I would do differently next time I would go ahead and rip the panels all the way up to the waistline apart, and so that I could create one flush seam down the center back. But that's it. It was a super easy project, suitable for beginners, and I was able to take a pair of jeans that I was never going to wear, that didn't fit me quite right and weren't really my style, into a skirt that now I love wearing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I hope you like and subscribe, and I'll see you here next time.